Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secrets to her glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine game. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes your talk of the town. And we're live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for cabaret on Amber Live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
Who is grooming and molesting children? The far right would like you to believe it's the drag queens and members of the trans communities committing these offenses. But the facts point that the high percentage of offenders are ministers, priests, and others associated with religious education. Florida man Sean Fitzgerald was, I repeat, was director of youth services at a First United Methodist Church and a high school teacher. And he was arrested after investigators found more than 700 pictures and videos of child porn on his phone. The images on his phone were of children as young as infants being sexually abused. He's been sentenced to 35 years in prison. Good luck surviving 6 months, Pastor.
The Republican legislature, they just walked out. When we were watching the debate in the Senate Education Committee about the Don't Say Gay bill, they didn't care what people had to say. It really made it clear that Louisiana is not a state where we want to raise our children.
J.C. Leyendecker, who was an American illustrator. This is his most famous piece, and he did a number of illustrations for Ivory Soap. There's the hidden erection, and that's what made this so scandalous. There it is.
Oh.
And it right now, once you see it, you can't unsee it. But to think that was a national ad.
Hello there. Welcome to Amber Live on another great Sunday night. And do we have a show for you? But first, I want you to like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much. Now, what do killer elephants, an American traitor, and Swifties have in common? They're all a part of this week's news briefs. Now, what do you do if you don't like your working conditions or compensation? Well, if you're an auto worker or writer, you can go on strike. What do you do if you're an elephant in the Philippines? Well, if you're a 20-year-old elephant called Pom Pam, you stab your owner. The elephant had been carrying rubber wood in an extremely hot temperatures when it attacked its owner and left him in a pool of blood. Police said that the high temperatures may have caused the elephant to go crazy and stab the owner with its tusks. Try that the next time you're overworked. There are a lot of strange holidays and celebrations, and one of the weirdest is the Burning of Benedict Arnold Festival held in New London, Connecticut every September. Organizer Dareand Wood refers to it as the original Burning Man Festival. Oh, Dareand. During a ceremony, a papier-mâché figure of the disgraced American revolutionary is torched to mark the anniversary of when Arnold led a group of more than 1,600 British soldiers to burn most of the city to the ground in 1781. Participants, some decked out in period costume, marched with a fife and drum corps on New London's Bank Street to its waterfront park, where its mayor shouts, "Remember New London!" and torches the effigy. A military officer, Arnold was appointed by then General George Washington and given control of West Point, where Washington had his headquarters during the war. However, it was discovered that Arnold was giving information to the British and planning to surrender West Point to enemy forces. Tuesday, September 19th was Voter Registration Day. Voter.org's communication director announced that their site was averaging 13,000 users every 30 minutes. Wow! What could cause that much traffic? 2 words, Taylor Swift. Earlier that day, the anti-hero singer had posted to her story asking followers, "Are you registered to vote yet? I've heard you raise your voices, and I know how powerful they are. Make sure you're ready to use them in our elections this year." I wonder if Taylor would like to become an honorary member of the League of Drag Queen Voters. I'd love to hear her shout out our motto, "Don't blow it, vote." And that's this week's News Briefs. And now it's time to talk to Russell. Russell, come on in.
Hello, how are you this evening?
Oh, fine, Russell. We've got a great show coming up, so let's get right to it. So first, I want you to tell people the best way to watch Amber live.
Well, the best way to watch Amber live is by going to YouTube, and that's youtube.com/Amber Live, because there not only is it in full HD, but you can also chat with all your friends in the chat room there. So it's a lot of fun over there. Amber's often there. I'm usually there. So we'll talk to you. We run some polls. We play some games, have some silliness. Who knows what'll happen. And then after the show, go check out our TikTok, our Instagram, our Facebook pages, and even our great website, amberlive.tv. And if you can't watch Amber, you can always listen to her on the podcast where we put the interviews, and those are available anywhere great podcasts are playing. So you can listen to Amber while you're on the road in the morning on the way to work.
Sure, why not? And there's one thing else you want to talk about.
Oh, of course. We've got to get to our bustiers, and we love our bustiers, all of them that have helped to keep this show going. And we need your help now to keep it going further. So use that Venmo at RJD Pro, or go to our website, amberlive.tv, and look for the donate button and become a bustier. Any amount is welcome. It all helps, and it keeps us going and helps us bring you great guests.
Yeah, the guests will often comment how professional our show looks, and it's because of donations from our viewers. So thank you. All right, Russell, so tell us about tonight's show.
Well, tonight's show is one of our favorite guests who's been on a number of times. I have his new book right here, Leading Lady, and I know you've got yours too. And I've been reading it. It's a lot of fun. And that's Charles Busch, who is just a wonderful, wonderful person. We've had the opportunity to hang out with him in person. Yes. And he tonight is going to tell us not only about his new book, but his new play that's coming up, his new movie that's coming out, the places that he's going to be doing appearances. He is so busy right now, but he took the time out for us, and we're grateful for it, to do a wonderful interview.
Yes, I didn't have the book at the time we interviewed him, but I have it now, and I'm reading it. I love it, and you will too.
It's so much fun. And I think, as he mentions, the chapters are very short. So there's a certain room in your house where he recommends you can read it.
Yeah. It's a great interview, and let's get it started right now. As Russell and I mentioned earlier, our guest tonight is Charles Busch. For over 50 years, he's been entertaining us as a male actress. We can't wait to talk to him about his new book that just came out. So, Charles, come on in.
Hello. Hey, Amber.
Hello again, Charles. It's so good to see you. Thank you for talking to us.
I'm delighted to be here with you.
All right.
Virtually, darling.
Your book just recently hit the bookshelves. Tell us about it.
Well, it may have recently hit the bookshelves, but I worked on it for 14 years. 14 years. I thought it was 8 years. And my friend Kathy, who typed it out a couple times, it reminded me that it was 14. Oh my God. But it took a while to figure out just exactly how I wanted to do it. I had all sorts of false starts and tried doing it in some weird way with recording it into some strange device that then you plugged into your computer and it transcribed the whole thing. But when I did that and then looked at the transcription, it looked like it was in Bulgarian, because somehow I guess all my highfalutin way of talking it just didn't translate. So I thought I guess I just have to sit down and type it out, and then I did.
Now, 14 years ago, was a book in mind, or were you just jotting down memories and saying, "Oh, I'll do something with them later on"?
Oh, no. It was always intended to be a book, in 4 volumes like Proust. Yes, no, that was the intention, and in fact, you do overwrite, and at one point I think I was up to page 450, and I was only 14 years old, but then I got it together, and I hadn't, I went into it not really knowing what the structure was going to be, other than just spilling it all out, and so and it actually ended up being basically the structure I started out with, but I had detours where I was going to write it just, chapter 1, I am born, and it just goes on. And then I got over that one. And it's a bit of a collage where there is a deceptive sort of chronological through line. But within that, I jump around in time because I get a little bored sometimes when I read memoirs or biographies that it takes a long time to get to the sexy part. And so, I start off with kind of one story that takes place just a couple of years ago, and then I go back to my childhood, and then that might jog my mind on some other thing that happened, 40 years later. So anyway, it's the book I really wanted to write, and I'm really proud of it. I have to say, I just I think it's maybe the best thing I've ever done, Amber.
Well, isn't that something that's good to say, that, at our age, to say, yep, I'm still doing great stuff?
Well, of course, I was young when I began it. So, but yeah, no, I'm very busy. I have a new play we're going to be doing in the winter, and then I have a movie that's just about to be released, and also. Oh
yes, we've got plenty to talk about. We'll talk about that later on. Now, when you started writing your book, did you have an editor, or was someone helping you?
No, not all. However, I really have a wonderful circle of friends, and they were all helpful. And actually, I tell you, Facebook, it may have its sinister connotations, but it's been a wonderful thing for me. And I tend to share these kind of rather long Facebook posts, and so they're full stories. And there were many times over these years where I would I'd work on a chapter for the book, and then I'd post kind of an edited down version of the story and see what the response was. And then other times I would write a story just for Facebook, thinking it would not be in the book, but the response was so enthusiastic that, I guess I should put that in the book. So it really helped.
Well, I love your stories on Facebook. They're just a glimpse into your life, but into New York. But even if we didn't know you, there were still interesting stories that you tell. And I do not have a copy of your book yet, as we're recording this, but I can't wait to read it. We haven't even mentioned the title of the book. There it is, Leading Lady, a memoir of Most Unusual Boy. Did you come up with that title?
Half of it. Originally, the book was going to be just a series of kind of unrelated stories from my collection of anecdotes, and so I was going to call it "This Never Leaves the Dressing Room," which I thought was awfully cute. It sounded kind of naughty and sexy. I liked it, but as the book progressed, when I finally did get an agent, Tom Miller, he didn't think the title was good enough, and then he came up with Leading Lady, which at first I thought, isn't that kind of generic? But then I saw that it has rather complex meaning in the book. Certainly, I've turned myself into a leading lady, and then there's so many famous actresses who I've collided with throughout my life who are leading ladies, and then of course, I was raised by my aunt, who was an extraordinary, fascinating lady, and she's in a way maybe it really is the leading lady of the title. Yeah. So then I thought, I think it needs something with a little more zhuzh to it than just leading lady. So I came up with the subtitle, The Memoir of a Most Unusual Boy. So I think together it's a good title.
Did you know you were an unusual boy?
Yeah, I think in every way. I mean, I was unusual when I was very young. I think to the people in my school, maybe I was just a bit too unusual, and so I think maybe that was maybe a negative. But my aunt thought I was fascinating from the minute she met me when I was born. And so she used to say that about me. In fact, there's a story I kind of, I've rewritten the book so many times that I edit things out, and then I think, oh, after the fact, oh, I edited out that good line, and because actually, how do I really compress this? I don't want to, go on too long about one thing, but when I was trying, I had applied to a very fancy college, Northwestern University, which I really was not. My grades were not good enough to get in, but friends of mine applied, so I thought, why not? And it's in Chicago, in Illinois, and I'm from New York City. And the day that I was supposed to fly to Chicago for the college interview, we got this call from the admissions office that somehow we had neglected to send in my last SAT scores, and the lady from admissions said, "Well, so we're canceling your application." And so my aunt was just, said, I can get Chuck. That's what she called it, was my name as a kid. I can get him on the next plane, and you'd really like him because and I tell you, he's a most unusual boy. and so the woman said, "Oh, there's really no point in doing this, but we have his application out, so I'll just look at it now." We thought, well, that's into that one. And about a week later, we got this letter from Northwestern saying I was accepted at the school early admission, and we were both so astonished because I was really not qualified. And Aunt Lillian said to me, "You won't believe this, but she opened the letter. You've been accepted at Northwestern." And I said, my reaction was, "Oh shit!" And she said, she laughed. She said, "What would your response have been if it had been a rejection?" I said, "Oh shit!" So I guess it was the same reaction. But yeah, that's the thing. So to her, I was the most unusual boy, but in a positive way.
How long? You started 14 years ago writing your book. Tell us about the starts and stops.
Oh, it was quite discouraging. After the book was basically done. I mean, it's been rewritten quite a bit once I had an editor and all that. But when I first kind of was at a place where I thought it was good enough to submit out, I didn't have a literary agent at all, and I guess I was a little arrogant. I kind of thought after my long career and that it'd be a cinch. I could not find an agent, and they're awful. And this one agency, which I was recommended that they're going to love you and stuff, LGBT figures, and this guy held on to the book for about 9 months, and then got back to me that no, I don't think I could do anything with it. Another one held on to it for 7 months. No, can't do anything. Then another friend of mine said, "Oh, my agent, she'd adore you." This woman held on to it for 3 months, and then said, "I don't think there's anyone interested in theater except maybe to get a ticket to Hamilton. So I can't do anything with it." And so it was really discouraging. But then, of course, I could have saved about 2 years because this wonderful man, Tom Miller, who used to be an editor at HarperCollins, and indeed was the editor for my one novel that was published in the 90s. He became an agent, and so he took me on, and he's just he's just the best person because he knows everything about the publishing business. So he not only is an agent, but he had been such a successful editor that before we submitted it to any publishers, he had all sorts of notes and suggestions and questions, and I did a real rewrite just according to his editorial advice, and that's quite rare. So by the time I did send it out, it was in much better shape. But even there, we got turned down by, really the it's called the Big Five, which is Knopf and the big famous publishing houses, and I don't know why they didn't want me, but then this small house called Ben Bella, and they have a special imprint called Smart Pop. They took me on, and I tell you, they've done a gorgeous job in that cover, and then there's an insert of 24 full color pages that are beautifully reproduced. I mean, it's not like some tacky book where sometimes you open it up and they're black and white, and you hardly can look at what the photo looks like. And no, it's just a gorgeous book. I couldn't be happier, and they're so behind it, and yeah, it's just so often things work out. And I was about to say, because it sounds patronizing, but so often the second best thing works out. In this case, they're not second best, but just the fact that, let's say, I didn't get accepted by this person who maybe I might have been lost with. Sometimes you can be with like a real big famous organization, and it's bad because you're a small fry, and they sign you up. This has happened to me with like big agencies like William Morris Agency or whatever. They sign you up, but then they don't know what to do with you, and you're not a superstar, so they kind of forget about you. So this all worked out great.
Tell us what's the job of a literary agent? What do they do?
Well, the main job they're supposed to do is get your book out to all the different publishers until someone will. I mean, what you really want is hopefully that several publishers want you, and there's a bidding war for the book, But basically, they're trying to sell it. But then there are a number of agents, I think, who also, before they submit it, help you get the book in better shape. But with Tom, the fact was that he's had many years experience as an editor, and so his clients really do benefit from his expertise.
Were there any times where either Tom, your agent, and your editor, and they wanted you to do something, and you said, "Nope, I want this in there," or the other way, where you said, "Oh, that's terrible," and they go, "Oh, no, you got to keep that."
That didn't happen, although there was a question with the title that I think that the publishers, the marketing person there, would have liked having the word drag in the title, because drag is such a big thing nowadays in every which way, and I didn't want the book to be called Life's a Drag or one of those jokey titles. I'm sort of a dignified lady, and but then I thought, so I said, no. But then I thought about it, and I thought, oh, I bet, there's this whole thing on the internet with keywords for search functions, and maybe that word drag would be good somehow. And so I thought about it, and I asked them, I said, would it work? Would it be if there was drag in a quote on the front title? And she said, yes, that would be the same. So then to drop a name, I'm friends with Sarah Jessica Parker. I'm not one of her best friends, but she's been very, very generous to me, and just a really great gal. So I asked her if she would come up with a title, come up with a quote for me using the word drag in it, and she did, and so that's on the front cover. It says, "A magical tale of how Charles brought drag into the present by celebrating the glamour of the past. Sarah Jessica Parker." Isn't that great? So that's
cool.
Helpful. Yeah,
that's you. And we've got more to talk to Charles about, but we're going to take a little break right now. We'll be right back. Oh, we have 2 more parts of that interview. You don't want to miss a minute of it. Russell, come on in.
Hey, Charles is so wonderful to listen to. The stories, the knowledge, the history, it's amazing.
Just such a wonderful, wonderful human being. One more time for your plug.
Oh yeah, those bustiers, they're the people that keep this going and keep people like Charles coming to you through Amber Live. So please become a bustier. Use that Venmo at RJD Pro, or go right to our website, amberlive.tv, and look for the donate button in order to use your credit card and become a bustier. And once again, thank you to all our bustiers. Any amount helps, and it's all put towards this great cause of Amber Live.
Yes, thank you very much.
There is one other way you can always help us out, and that's by checking out the Amber Live store. Go to amberlive.tv, look for the merch button. Go right there, check out some amazing products. We have 2 new ones that we're working on today. They aren't quite out yet, but we are putting new stuff up there all the time. So check out that store.
Yes, can't wait for people to check that out. And now I can't wait to get back to the second part of the interview. Let's go. All right, we're back with Charles Busch talking about his book, Leading Lady. All right, Charles, do you do any name dropping in your book?
Oh, my dear, you're being facetious, my dear. Yes. I have so much name dropping. But I've led a rather peculiar and really wonderful life that, I'm this male actress, basically, I guess you'd say. And I'm delighted to be accepted by the drag community as their own, but I'm also in the theater, and it's odd how often I've ended up sort of being accepted as an actress and just being in the sharing dressing rooms with Audra McDonald and all sorts of Carol Channing and all sorts of people. It's kind of odd. I don't even ask for it. I just often, when I've done these kind of one night benefits for the Actors Fund, they just put me in the women's dressing room with Carol Burnett. It's the kookiest thing, and I don't even realize it until I get there and all these people start walking. Wait, Audra McDonald, what? And they just kind of accept me at face value as a great lady of the theater, and nobody seems to object. It's so funny.
Read a segment from your book, if you would, please.
Okay, this is a short. The book is if I may be vulgar for a moment, my dears, it's the perfect book to read on the toilet because they're very short chapters, and so you won't get hemorrhoids or anything like that because they're so short in some cases. So this is a very short little chapter called the Women in Palm Springs. 2012, a role that I always longed to play was Mary Haynes in Claire Booth Luce's play The Women, the role Norma Shearer played in the film. I had the opportunity in several stage readings produced by the group Tweed in New York in the 1990s. It was a very different but especially memorable experience to appear in the play for one night benefit performance for the Coyotes, Coyote Stageworks in Palm Springs, with an all-star cast including Lucy Arnaz, Lorna Luft, Michelle Lee, Florence Henderson, and Kay Ballard. I shared a dressing room with Lorna, Michelle, and Lucy. Garbed in a chic, form-fitting black cocktail dress, I was straightening my seams when Michelle complained that it wasn't fair that I was the only one in the cast to be mic'd. "What are you talking about?" I asked her. "I'm not mic'd." Michelle, in all seriousness, pointed to an area below my waist and said, "I see the mic pack." It was necessary to diplomatically inform the lady, "Michelle, that's my dick." End of chapter. It's almost Proustian, isn't it?
So, are you anti-tuck? Is that it?
No, I have actually only twice in my career actually did that. The very first time we did Die Mommy Die, the play in LA, in one scene, the first scene, I was wearing these tight hostess pants with an overskirt, and I had to tuck for that one scene, and then quickly during I had long enough time between scenes to get that thing off, that gaff off, and then I think what else? I think the only other time I did that was I tucked in. We were doing a play called Shanghai Moon, and it was set in. I played this kind of Jean Harlow kind of character in the early 30s, and there was a scene where I was in a tight, form-fitting, bias-cut white satin dress that's very unforgiving in every which way, and I thought it was enough just to wear several pairs of pantyhose, but I guess not. And so the director, Carl, just kept saying during the tech rehearsal, we see a bulge, we see you sticking out. And I was getting so tired of hearing that. And so I bought this contraption called a gaff that I don't know how many people use that nowadays, but it was kind of an old-fashioned kind of thing where it was like a piece of stiff buckram covered with satin with elastic straps, and you tuck everything inside yourself and put this on. It's rather gruesome, but award for that, and I think also when we did Die Mommy Die on stage in L.A. I wore that in the scene. Yeah, but generally I use full skirts,
Mhm.
caftans and things to avoid it because it's not pleasant. Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's
How
not.
do we get off on that topic? I can't remember say that led me to this the vulgaire.
We'll blame Michelle Lee.
Oh yeah, Michelle. Yeah. But I didn't think that little dress required anything, but I guess there was something sticking out, and she thought it was a mic pack. So silly.
All right. Now, in the interview in the New York Times at the review of the book, you talked about your bedroom, and he was fascinated by your apartment, which I've been fortunate enough to been in, and it is spectacular. It's unbelievable. And you talk about doing something in your bedroom. But first, let's show the people a look at your bedroom.
When someone walks into my bedroom, not that there are that many, darling, I had this image in my head. I wanted it to reflect 1920s set designer Natasha Rambova. So August came up with the idea of putting in an arch in the bedroom, and it gives it a little bit of a feeling of a proscenium.
Oh, wow.
That's beautiful. So you might have been in jest with this story, but share it with us.
Sometimes I read about these productions that are done site-specific, where they're done in production of Uncle Vanya that's done in someone's loft space. So I thought it would be sort of campy to do a Sorry Wrong Number in my bedroom, because I do have this kind of proscenium arch in the bedroom, and so you could set up 2 rows of maybe 6 seats in front of each other, 2 rows for 12 people. And I could be, we'd have them up. It's a duplex. They could be upstairs first to, have cocktails. And then when I'm all set in the bed, they could come down and sit in their seats. And then I would play Sorry Wrong Number, which is about an invalid who's trapped in her bed. And she thinks that on the phone that she's going to be murdered. Barbara Stanwyck did the movie, so I thought it would be kind of perfect. And it's a short play; it's only about 45 minutes. So I thought that could be an interesting fundraiser for some theater, but you'd have to charge $12,000 a seat to make any money, because you only have 12 seats. So I don't know how really serious I am. After I said that, a couple of people have come forth and said, "Oh, we really got to do it," and so I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you were being thought of as a legend in the drag community, and evidence of that was this summer I went to see Varla Jean Merman's show in Provincetown, and part of her show, Stand By Your Drag, part of her show, she did a tribute to the drag history, and guess whose picture was up there on the screen? Do you see yourself up there?
There I am.
Yes.
Well, Varla is just the real deal. Boy, I tell you, the first time I saw her perform, I just flipped out. She's just so funny. Just brilliant. Yeah. And we've done together. We've done one night kind of stage readings. I think we did The Bad Seed one time with her playing the little girl, and I played and I played the mother. Oh, and then we did, what was it? Even better. No, we did The Miracle Worker. And I was Annie Sullivan, and she was Helen Keller. And it was a funny.
Oh, I bet.
It was really great. Yeah.
that would be something to see.
It was funny. Yeah.
No, we love seeing Varla Jean, but when we saw your picture up there, we just went, "Oh, there's Charles." How exciting.
I guess everybody's younger than I am, but I was going to say she and I are of the same generation. Not really. No, she's quite a bit younger. Yeah.
But she's still performing and does a great job. She sings, she dances so well. she's a big girl, and but she moves gracefully. So good. All right,
out of drag, big bodybuilder. I mean,
amazing. You would never pick that out and say there's Varla G unless you knew it.
Brilliant.
All right. Well, the book is called A Leading Lady, and we're going to talk about. We've talked about that. We're going to talk about what's coming up next for you right after this break. There's one more part of the interview. You don't want to miss it. But now it's time for my Altar-Cations. Laws are being proposed and passed around the country targeting the gay, drag, and trans communities. The motivation of these laws is the false impression that these people are responsible for the molestation and exploitation of children. However, if you do any research, it is members of the religious organizations that are being arrested, tried, and imprisoned. Austin Ray Perkins, a youth minister at the Grace Fellowship Baptist Church in Georgia, was arrested as part of a sting targeting child pornography. He was also accused of victimizing a minor who was living at his home and creating explicit videos. The juvenile was living with Perkins, who was coaching the child about how to act in videos and also engaging in acts of child molestation. Perkins was part of a child porn sex sting called Operation Spring Cleaning that netted 5 other arrests. Jonathan Shaheen, a Colorado Springs youth pastor and music teacher, was arrested on the charge of sexual exploitation of a child. Shaheen has also been in communication with a couple in New Mexico who were said to be exploiting children. His employer said Shaheen took a pledge in writing to abide by our code of conduct, which was completed. I'm sure he did. Here's a twist. Crystal Frost, whose name might make you think she's a drag queen, but she's not, has been arrested and accused of having sex with 2 teenage boys who were her students at a private Christian school in Alabama. She sent an obscene photo and asked that the students send a photo from the abs down, according to a police report. The school received an anonymous tip that a 15-year-old student had a nude breast photo of the math teacher on his phone, which he had shared with some classmates. Frost faces 2 counts of a school employee engaging in a sex act and 2 counts of a school employee distributing salacious material to a student. She also has been charged with electronically soliciting a child and traveling to meet a minor for sex. And she's not a drag queen. And that's this week's Altar-Cations. And now, Chapter 3 of our interview with Charles Busch. All right, we're back with Charles Busch to find out what else he's been doing. Now, Charles, back in April, you performed at 54 Below, a cabaret spot in New York City. And I don't have any clips from this year, but I've got a clip from last year. So let's watch that.
I used to dream that I would discover the perfect lover someday. I knew I'd recognize him if ever he came round my way. I always used to fancy then he'd be one of the godlike kind of men with a giant brain and a noble head, like those heroes bold in the books I've read. Then along came Bill, who's not the type at all. You meet him on the street, never notice him. His form and face and his manly grace are not the kind that you would find in a statue, and I can't explain. It's surely not his brain that makes me thrill. I love him because he's wonderful, because he's just my Bill.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful, Charles.
Oh, thank you.
How often do you do shows like that?
I was for a while there. That was kind of the main part of my career for a number of years. I began an association with the marvelous accompanist musical director Tom Judson, and we played like 30 cities in 4 countries. We really were that was kind of the main thrust of my career for a while, and I loved it and learned so much about music. And then I don't know, Tom doesn't really feel like doing it anymore, and I kind of had enough all that running around. So we've kind of, for the most part, ended it. But I think we might just do 54 Below in New York once a year, something like that. I like that.
How do you pick out your songs that you choose?
Well, but I see myself really as an actor who can try to tell a story through a song. I'm not, if you really want big notes and a lot of singing, don't come over here. But I sounded pretty good in that clip, I have to say. I was kind of impressed with myself. But I have to, the crutch in a way is to talk, sing, and I'm sort of insecure a little bit about my singing, so I tend to talk them. But I sounded pretty good, actually. I thought, maybe what's my problem?
Now, did you pick that song, or did your musical director?
No, I pick all for the most part, I pick all the songs, and there's songs that really lend themselves to acting rather than vocal pyrotechnics, which are a bit beyond me. So I like to just try to tell the story and just really be in the, in acting, we call it being in the moment. And it's, when you're playing a role in a play or a movie, you really want to be in the moment where it's so spontaneous that you just allow this kind of bubble of feeling just lead you into a line reading instead of kind of planning things out. And it's hard to do. I find it easier in a song somehow. Maybe it's the addition of a melody just allows me to just kind of see where, not pre-planned, see where it takes me, and I love that. I'd like to try to implement it in my acting more. I would tend to plan a line reading or a comic moment, and not trust just where the feeling takes you.
When you talk about some of the plays you've done and the characters you've performed, you mentioned some actresses that you emulate, or you take some of their styles to create your character. When you're singing, do you do that as well?
No, I try not to. I'm such a Garland fan that it's
I saw that.
not to kind of just let her take over, but I'm trying to be myself, but it's when you really admire someone, it's hard not to just kind of do them, but I'm trying very hard not to. But I think she was, for me, the greatest interpreter of popular songs, so therefore I'm going to try to learn lessons from her.
The last time you were on the show, you talked about your film, The Sixth Reel. What's the update on that?
Well, I'll tell you, we made this movie. Carl Andrus, who is a director that I've worked with for many years in the theater, we wrote this movie during COVID, during the first part of the pandemic, and we were able to get it produced, and it was all very, very quick, and it's a kind of madcap caper movie, but set today, contemporary in New York City, about film memorabilia fanatics and collectors and dealers. And that's what I play, and we have a wonderful cast. My long-term stage buddy Julie Halston plays opposite me, but we also have Margaret Cho and Tim Daly is our leading man, and Patrick Page. And the thing was that all the Broadway theaters were closed during that period. So we were able to get all these marvelous theater people who were out of work and didn't mind being in our movie. So, just all sorts of marvelous people. And we made it. But then we played all sorts of film festivals and did very well. But it was hard to find a distributor for one thing, I think like Netflix, they were basically just doing their own, producing their own work and not buying outside movies. So we can bet a bit at a bad time, but finally, we have a distributor. We're just being shown in one theater in New York for basically 1 week, September 22nd through the 29th, and then I guess we're hoping that then we'll find more distribution after that.
Let's watch the trailer for the film.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Hey, Gerald, I'm here. Gerald.
Your friend appears to have been dead for at least 24 hours.
Would you believe that this is the 4th time I've discovered a dead body?
Is there anything else you can tell me that's pertinent?
I am an expert in the world of cinema memorabilia.
I'll be the one to assess my uncle's estate. Old copies of TV Guide? It's a sickness!
Your uncle is more of a hoarder than a collector.
London After Midnight is the holy grail of lost films.
Jimmy, are you all right?
This reel of film could very well be your death warrant.
Can we watch it?
Are you insane? There are people out there who would gladly slit your throat to possess 10 minutes of London After Midnight.
It's at the top of my list of lost films that I would, without conscience, kill to see.
Jimmy Nichols!
Jimmy, I believe those vampires are calling.
Don't pay any attention to them.
Jimmy!
Let's make a run for it.
You cannot escape us! You have it! You have it! You have it!
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! The film has to be sold and out of our hands as swiftly as possible.
Congratulations on the cinematic find of the century.
Are you free for dinner tomorrow night?
It's gone. I can't believe you told him everything. You are a vile, despicable human being.
To protect this film, I would sleep with a lot worse than you. The Museum of Modern Art is meeting me here tomorrow to personally pick up the movie.
Helen and I have devised a foolproof plan.
We shall strive to keep this as simple and undramatic as possible.
We're looking for Jimmy Nichols?
Don't know him. Never met him. Check.
Bring the package downstairs.
Check. Hello. Let Max take that from you.
Jimmy.
Shouldn't we be going up 8th Avenue?
We will be taking you to a different destination.
Can somebody please tell me what is going on?
Huh?
The film must be destroyed.
No!
Rumble into death.
I think the 4 of you have seen too many movies.
Shut your hole.
The story begins in the 1960s.
Oh, must we go back to the 60s? I'm on a diuretic.
Shut your hole, Doris. I'm into it.
What a caper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like an old-fashioned 60s caper movie. That was the idea, yeah.
Oh, that is so much fun. And you've got a play that you're working on that's going to be produced soon. Tell us about that.
I know. Boy, I'm busy, aren't I?
Yes.
Yeah, it's called Ibsen's Ghost. We're doing it at 2 different theaters. First, we're at a wonderful theater in New Jersey, the George Street Playhouse. And then we go right, like with almost no break at all. We come into New York City. It's like an old movie, isn't it? We're hitting. You see the train. We're hitting New York. Next stop, and at Primary Stages Theater, and so I'm very excited about it. We got a wonderful cast, and it's.
Well, tell us the story.
Well, it's an irresponsible historical story. It's I play Ibsen's widow, Susanna, a week after his state funeral, and she's the keeper of the flame, and her whole identity is based on her marriage to the great man. And then all sorts of things start happening during this week that jeopardize his reputation and therefore hers. And so she has to, put a stop to this. And then there's a young sailor who shows up in Oslo, who claims to be Ibsen's lost son from his youth. And this part I just made up. It's I just made it up that she. The true part is that he did have an illegitimate son, Ibsen, but this next part that he ends up going to bed with the widow, and and she enlists him into this kind of adventure to steal this woman's diary that will prove that Ibsen's not the great man that I've led people to believe. But I think it's very funny, but at the sime time, there's a kind of, like all things I do, there's a serious underpinning to it. So we're going to be doing that. And
when will that open?
I think it opens in New York, I believe in March. Yeah.
Are you in rehearsals?
No, not till December. December. Yeah, but I'm very excited about it. It's a great role. Yes, it sort of echoes. It's sort of. I'm a big Ibsen fan, I guess you would say, and I've always wanted to play Hedda Gabler or Mrs. Alving in Ghosts, and but I'm just not going to do a revival of Ghosts. But then my friend Carl Andrus, who's directed really most of my plays for the past 20 years or so, said, well, couldn't you come up with just an original story that where you could play great moments in Ibsen that you've always wanted to play, but in your own original narrative. So that's what I did. And I did some research and read about Ibsen's widow and her and their life together, and came up with this irresponsible fable, taking elements that are true, but you never know, because sometimes, hey, listen, the things I invent, who knows? Maybe those inventions weren't just weren't in the established biographies. You never know.
That's right. Yeah. And I understand the Die Mommy Die is making a resurgence. It was going to be screened somewhere.
Yeah, it keeps being shown. There's a it's in Long Island. There's oh God, I'm so vague, and you're putting me on the spot. And
I'm sorry.
I'm going to sound like poor Charles Busch. He's got dementia. It's in Long Island somewhere, and a wonderful theater, and they're going to show the movie, and I'll speak afterwards, but I don't know where it is. This is embarrassing.
They'll send a car for you, I'm sure.
Yes, and I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm a little vague today for you, dear. Please forgive me.
All right. You've got the book. That must be such a relief to have the book done and out in the bookstores.
Yes, it really has been such a long journey with this book, and I didn't really, for the longest time, I wasn't exactly sure what the structure was going to be and how to do it. And in the theater, I have a certain arrogance that comes from just experience, basically, or maybe you shouldn't call it arrogance, confidence, perhaps, that I kind of know what I'm doing. But with this memoir, I didn't really know. It was a bit hit or miss, and I tried different structures, and I would listen to the last person who gave me advice, and sometimes it would be just terrible advice. But okay, I guess I know. I do a whole rewrite on the book, and then realize no, that's not the book I want to do, and ended up basically being the book that I started out with all sorts of detours. But I'm very proud of it. I have to say, I kind of look at it and think, wow, I can't believe I actually did that. I was not good in school, so somehow the idea of, I don't know, with the play, I don't know. I'm very, very confident, but with prose, there's still this thing in the back of my head of feeling like this incompetent student who wasn't very good. And although I was always very good in creative writing, but then when I was quite young, my grammar was so terrible and punctuation was so awful that they never could sort of put my paper up on the wall. I think they used to tell, I was raised by my aunt, and they would teachers would say to her that he's the most creative person in the class, and what he writes is so sophisticated, but they can't hang it up on the wall because the punctuation and the penmanship is so terrible. And that's sad, isn't it?
No, it's not, but look where it got you.
Yeah, because ultimately I do think, creativity is maybe more important than penmanship.
I do too.
Well,
Charles Busch, thank you so much for coming back to talk to us. I can't wait to read the book and to follow you on all of your future endeavors, because I know there's going to be a lot more.
Oh, thank you, Amber. You're just a delight. It's so much fun with you. Thank you for having me.
We'll get together again. Thank you, Charles.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you, Charles. Thank you. Go out and get his book. And now it's time for Rocco.
Hey everybody, it's me, Rocco. I gotta tell you something. Came here to Disney thinking, hey, great vacation. The only problem with that is we brought kids with us. It's not a vacation at Disney when you got kids, because all they want to do is go on all these rides that you don't want to go on because they suck. I'm telling you, Disney is not a place to bring kids. Find a babysitter. Put them in a dog kennel. Tie them up in the backyard with a bowl of water. They'll be fine. I'm going to go try and lounge without any kids around. I'm going to see Big J down here in a day or two. Right, Big J? All right, you guys have fun.
Thank you, Rocco. And I want to thank Charles Busch once again for allowing us to interview him. What a man. Well, that's this week's show. We'll see you again next week. Hey, Book and Shug, bring it on.
Hey, ever wonder why Amber wears a brooch all the time?
So you look at her chest more?
I think it has to do with holding up her boobs. She ain't no spring chicken anymore.
Falsies don't sag, Bug.
Those things are fake?